Alright, Arctic Monkeys discography, ladies and gentlemen. This is kind of going to be the inverse of the Radiohead series, where with the Radiohead series I'd heard everything except the first album. With this series, I've heard 3 albums, but the only one I can remember is the first album. Yeah, whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not. Going into this album, I already know I love it. I already know that this album's fantastic. I already know I'm going to be glazing the shit out of this album, okay? This album, I know like the back of my hand. I've also heard Favorite Worst Nightmare, and I've heard Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, and I don't remember shit about those 2 albums. I remember enjoying Favorite Worst Nightmare when I heard it, but never really having any drive to return to it. I remember really liking Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino when I first heard it, but upon returning to it, I found myself being incredibly bored by that album and haven't re-listened to it since, and that was like at least 2 years ago. So I am going into the rest of this discography pretty fresh, and going into this album knowing it like the back of my hand. So this reaction is very much just going to be me glazing the fuck out of this album. It's going to be me already knowing my opinions on all of these songs, but getting to just express my love for it on camera for the first time. And then the rest of this discography will essentially be first reactions, or at least fresh listens in terms of the albums that I have heard. This album came out in 2006, same year I was born. It is 13 tracks, 41 minutes. This is a garage rock, indie rock classic right here. In terms of like 2000s indie music, this is an absolute standout, and one of the most impressive debut albums of all time. Especially considering the fact that I don't really love the stuff I've heard from Arctic Monkeys' later discography. I think that this album being their starting point is fucking insane. In terms of like how high of a bar they set for themselves. And then, in my mind, how quickly it falls off. Again, maybe re-listening to Favorite Worst Nightmare, I'll enjoy it more. I haven't heard Suck It and See. I haven't heard AM in its entirety, I haven't heard Humbug in its entirety, and I haven't heard The Car in its entirety. Maybe I'll be won over by those albums, but in my mind, I have this worry in the back of my head that this is going to be the only album I come out of this series liking. Enough blabbering. I'm just going to get a notepad up real quick. I don't need Notepad, fuck Notepad. I don't need Notepad for this album. Yeah, enough blabbering, I'm just going to get started with this shit. Track 1, The View from the Afternoon. Sound starts on 11. I love it. Anticipation has a habit to set you up for disappointment in evening entertainment. But regardless of what's come before, I want to see all of the things that we've already seen. Some devil laws of hell. You know, it's weird. You know, I'm so familiar with this album at this point that it's kind of just like, it feels like muscle memory listening to this. But then actually paying attention and thinking about it analytically again, which I've not done with this album in a long time, it kind of reminds me just how fucking brilliant of an opener this song is. It is absolutely insane how much energy they kick this album off with. We are really starting on 11, and it keeps it up the entire way through this song. Yeah, Matt Helders is bringing a lot. Apparently, he hadn't been playing drums for too long when this album was made, but Matt Helders goes crazy on this album. And she won't be surprised that she won't be shocked when she's pressed the star after she's pressed so long. And you should bear that in mind tonight, bear that in mind, yeah, you should bear that in mind tonight. Sounds also very northern. Like, obviously they're from Sheffield, but you can fucking tell they're from Sheffield on this album, dude. Using lots of northern slang. Some of it even I'm not familiar with. Anticipation has a habit to set you up, and she won't be surprised. Yeah, man, Matt Helders fucking brings it on this album. Especially considering he had been drumming for too long when this came out. You know, funnily enough, we recently listened to that first Block Party album on stream. I can kind of see some parallels between that and this, where that Block Party album was full of so much insane kind of bombastic, youthful energy, but it didn't feel all that, yeah, legit, the timing. It kind of brought that insane, bombastic, youthful energy, but it wasn't too focused on being explosive. It was more focused on the attitude. It was more focused on being kind of this group of youths, I guess, kind of causing a ruckus. And that's exactly what The View from the Afternoon feels like. It feels like this band of teenagers stepping onto the stage at a pub and just going fucking crazy, causing everyone in the bar to go fucking insane or something. The atmosphere here is fucking immaculate. It really does feel like being in like a Sheffield pub with a bunch of rowdy northerners kind of going crazy watching these kids perform on stage, and they're putting on like the best performance possible. It is ridiculous how well this works. Again, this is a debut. How old were they when they made this album? Like 17, 18? He was born in 1986, so he was 20. Okay, he was 20 when this album came out, 19 when they were making it. That's kind of insane that they're able to create something that's this perfect of a garage rock track, being 19 years old and this being their first experience properly making music. Listen, you're gonna see a lot of these across this album. This song's a 10 for me. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of spoil it now. I think this album's perfect as an indie rock album, as a garage rock album. It has literally everything I want out of this style, and it doesn't really have a single moment where it falters. So we'll see if this listen can hold this album as a 10 for me. But yeah, this first song is an easy 10, and of course it leads absolutely beautifully into the next song. I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. Iconic intro.
Stop making the eyes at me, I'll stop making the eyes at you. What it is that surprises me is that I don't really want you to. I said I bet that you look good on the dance floor, dancing to electro pop like a robot from 1984. Well, from 1984.
The way the song gradually builds into this chorus, so good. Yeah. See, this kind of has that explosiveness that I felt like the first song didn't have. So I was talking about the first song not being explosive. This is the explosive moment.
Well, I bet that you look good on the dance floor. I don't know if you're looking for romance or dancing to electro pop like a robot from 1984. From 1984.
I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor is an absolutely incredible turn into the more aggressive, where the first song is kind of more slick. It's got a little bit more of that youthful attitude, kind of just trying to rile the crowd up. This feels like the crowd are now riled up, and we're just going straight into causing a complete mess. We're trashing the place with this song. It is loud, it's angry, it's explosive. It really, really picks up the energy after the first song. And it feels kind of like more of a display of, I guess, just the more heavy and ridiculous aspects of the band. It feels like them really leaning into just how chaotic of an album this can get. And, you know, we obviously have more moments like this further down the line, especially towards the back half of the album. But yeah, as the second song, this is an absolutely fucking incredible pickup in the pace. This has always been one of my favorites, despite, you know, obviously it being the lead single, and I've heard this song about like a million times. But still, this song still stands as one of my favorites on this album. It's like the easiest fucking 10 ever. Probably one of the best, like, English indie rock songs out there. It's, well, in terms of like indie English rock hits, I suppose, it's easily one of the best. This song goes fucking insane. Fake Dolls of San Francisco. Yeah, I'm missing that post-punk. There's kind of some post-punk-isms here. Yeah, it's definitely more focused on the heavier stuff here. The album also goes so seamlessly between the immaturity and the maturity so well. Like, this album is able to be really silly and really lead into, like, being a teenager and kind of getting into trouble and stuff like that, but then it's so easily able to switch into something a little more mature with more, like, surprisingly competent storytelling. It's such incredible variety in tones already. I just love how much attitude every member of the band brings here as well. The bass lines, Matt Helder's on the drums especially, and also the guitars. Everything just feels so youthful, so sarcastic. Everything kind of has this very jokey quality, even in the more serious moments of this album. There's just such a sense of, like, smart-ass demeanor that I feel like is incredibly charming throughout this. It's so weird to think that they were the same age as me when this album was made. That doesn't feel right. Because there are certain points where, like, certain songs will remind me of people I know, and it's like, yeah, 18, 19, being around that age, writing songs about this, it makes sense. And then there's certain songs that are so much more mature than that I'm thinking, how was this made by someone the same age as me? This feels like, it feels like someone like 10 years older writing a song. And I feel like Fake Tales of San Francisco is one of those songs where it's telling this story that is so detailed. It's telling the story in a way that has a lot of attitude, that has a lot of sarcasm, but is still pretty serious. And kind of is being told from a perspective that, yeah, is very down to earth and is very direct. You know, the band get a little less down to earth going forward, especially with the songs I've heard from AM, but this is like, there's something so, like, just human and humble about all of this. There's something that's very honest and open, and it comes across as more mature as even some of the stuff that I've heard from later on in their discography. Folk Tales of San Francisco isn't, like, my absolute favorite on this album, but it's still, like, the easiest fucking 10 I can give out. This song is so charming, it's so slick, the storytelling is incredibly direct. I fucking love it. Next up we have Dancing Shoes. I used to not like this song.
Get on your dancing shoes. There's one thing on your mind.
I remember when I first listened to this album about, what, 4 or 5 years ago, I really did not like this song at all.
So you're waiting and waiting and the only reason that you came was
rating 10. It's probably going to be 10s across the board, I can't lie. Spoilers. You get a little bit of kind of like the post-punk revivalism here, and some of the more dancey elements.
Sexy little swine.
So much instrumental creativity. They really, it feels like they have an endless amount of ideas, an endless amount of resources. Like, it's still very raw, but there's something that feels so free about this. Like, they have the freedom to do whatever the fuck they want. You know, this album kind of feels like what early Oasis advertises itself as, where it promises this band of people that are, you know, like a band of like real people, you know, people who have been through real struggles, telling stories of being chaotic youths, telling stories of, you know, their emotions when they were younger and their upbringing and all of the crazy shit they get into. Except this actually delivers on that promise, you know? This is exactly what I wish Oasis was. This is genuinely fascinating, it's genuinely relatable, it genuinely feels like, it just feels like real people. I don't know why the fuck I'm trying to over-explain this. It just feels like real people telling real stories about, you know, being crazy youths getting into trouble. It's actually genuinely relatable, you know? Yeah, Dancing Shoes, I used to really not like this song, and now it's grown to be kind of a favorite for me on this album. Some of the most creative instrumentation lands on this track, particularly with Matt Helder's doing lots of creative tom beats throughout this. Alex Turner providing a fucking powerhouse vocal performance, particularly at the end where he goes into the more loud, bordering on just straight shouting at the end there. Yeah, this song provides probably the most tensity out of any song so far. And also, just some of the most interesting lyricism as well. Again, kind of bringing a lot of that sarcasm, but to an even heightened degree. Dancing Shoes is another 10 for me, a personal favourite of mine from this album. Heard any Gang of Four? I think I've heard a handful of songs from Gang of Four. You probably couldn't see for the lights. Hold on, I always fuck up this title. You probably couldn't see for the lights, but you were staring straight at me. There we go. Cowboy title, yeah.
Everybody's trying to crack the jokes and that, but now that you're more than a bar in the play.
Such a great sense of dynamic range on this album. The album kind of has a very obvious bag of tricks that you kind of pick up on as it progresses. Lots of cutting out and then punching back in. Lots of playing with like a particular instrument getting one whole bar to itself. It plays a lot with dynamics in that way, but it gives it a lot of range. Yeah, one of the most fun songs on the entire album, the most brief of the bunch up to this point, and I think that's a good thing for a song that's this fast-paced, for a song that feeds you this much as fast as it does. 2 minutes is about as much as I feel like this song warrants. It is a quick burst of energy that kind of describes falling in love with someone and, you know, trying to figure out what to do now that this person is more than just a part in the play. You know, it's kind of being young and figuring out how to be in love and balance that properly. It's a very fun track. Arguably, maybe the most fun song on the album for me. I feel like I don't even need to state my scores going on. Listen, unless I state otherwise, assume I've given the song a 10, okay? Up next we have Still Take You Home.
I don't think you're special, I don't think you're cool. You're just probably alright. Yeah, you know it for a fact that everybody's eating out of your hands.
Oh, the fucking interplay with the guitars is so good. So much fucking chemistry on this album. Every member of the band feels so electric with one another. It literally feels like a group of best friends that feel like they're able to like communicate with each other through the instrumental. It feels like a full flowing conversation the entire way through this album. Such a great fucking drum tone as well. That snare has so much fucking crack, the kick has a ridiculous amount of punch. Also a very slushy hi-hat sound, which is really nice for this more garage rock leaning indie rock.
I fancy you with a passion. I give a touch of princess, a rock star too. If everybody's looking, you've got control of everyone's eyes, including mine.
Yeah, this album is radiating confidence, but it never comes off as cocky. A lot of the time when there's, you know, this level of confidence and this level of attitude being brought to the table, it can come across as incredibly cocky. In fact, that's one of my least favorite things about Oasis in that early stuff, is it just feels cocky, and there's an unlikability and kind of a distance created with that. But here, it's confidence, but it's also winking and nodding at the audience constantly. There are so many moments throughout this where it feels like it's tipping the hat to the audience. It feels like it's trying to stay at eye level with you. And there's no real sense where it feels like it's trying to go too high or like it's trying to show off too much. It's that perfect balance that they strike of being youthful, of being chaotic, and being very confident, but still keeping that connection with the audience and not feeling like it goes too far over the edge. Still Take You Home is one of the most energetic fucking songs here, one of the heaviest, one of the most blaring, and I feel like this track is a perfect display of just how rowdy they can get and still keep the album on track here. I think this might, based on memory, I think Still Take You Home is the heaviest song of the bunch. And I think that this song works fucking fantastically, especially as a big fucking storm to come before Riot Van, which is up next, which Riot Van serves as a perfect calm after the storm. Yeah, this song, again, unless I state otherwise, I'm giving everything a 10.
Sparks excitement in the boys. Got a chase last night from men with truncheons dressed in hats.
So nice that they added a slowdown here. Again, kind of showing a bit of restraint and maturity.
And please just stop talking, cause they won't find us if you do.
Yeah, great display of variety as well. Again, the dynamics, fucking incredible on this album.
Have you been drinking, son? You don't look old enough to me. Is there a certain age you're supposed to be? 'cause nobody told me.
Writing's fucking amazing as well. I think that this song is the best display of maturity on the album. It's still telling a story, like, about these kids running from the police and hiding and giggling at each other to shut the fuck up and then, like, acting like an idiot in front of the police and stuff to try and take the piss out of them. But it's looking at it from a perspective of these kids are ruining their lives. Which is, again, this is one of the songs that it's kind of crazy that they were my age writing this, because it's people my age that do this. And to have a song about, like, causing a riot, being a rebel, and have it look at that as a negative thing from someone who is around my age, that's not something I'd expect. And again, that level of restraint, that level of maturity to even have a slowdown like this in a song that is a little more emotional and is kind of trying to put a different perspective in your mind of being like, hey, maybe what these kids are doing isn't fun. And isn't, you know, them having a great time. Maybe it's actually them ruining their fucking lives. It's cool to get that variety and kind of that duality of looking at both sides of the coin on this song. Even if this is kind of the only song to properly do that on the album, it's nice to get one track in here that does. A surprising moment of reflection on this album that, again, I remember my first time listening to this, I was kind of like, wait, what the fuck is this song? What happened to all of, like, the fun bouncy shit? Why are we getting sad all of a sudden? But having re-listened to this album countless times at this point, it kind of clicks to me so easy why this song is such a necessary piece of the puzzle. And next you have Red Light Indicates Doors Are Secure. Exactly, life advice with the Arctic Monkeys.
We'll ask if we can have 6 in. If not, we'll have 2. He didn't have to be rude. You see her with the green dress. She talked to me at the bar. Didn't you see she was gorgeous? She was beyond belief. I said it's our green mate by a Hillsborough, please. Well, I'm funny with that sketch earlier. Up near that taxi rank. Calm down, temper. We just shouldn't get so annoyed. But you're acting like a silly little boy. They said no surrender, no chance of retreat.
It's so fun. Just making a song about getting into an argument and starting a fight on the street and making it feel like going into fucking war. Yeah, so much fucking... This song is very northern.
So I in a taxi, 'cause I didn't want to leave. By Hillsborough, please.
Is Hillsborough in Sheffield? I swear Hillsborough's not in Sheffield.
Red light indicates doors are secure.
Red lights indicate doors are secured. A great pickup in the pace after Riot Van. Again, this song is one of the more goofy cuts here where it's, you know, this guy getting into a fight with someone and just over dramatizing, I don't know, making it feel as over dramatic as possible, making it feel like he's going into fucking war with this guy before pussying out and getting a taxi home. Just some incredible imagery and storytelling on just getting into doing stupid shit when you're really young. One of the most, like, immediate and kind of tense instrumentals we've had on the album up to this point. The way the two guitars that are hard panned left and right kind of play off of each other, with the one on the right being a lot more intense than the left, and the way the song's constantly kind of marching and building, it creates a lot of tension, kind of feeling like it's building up to the fight before, of course, he pussies out and gets a taxi home. This song fucking slaps. Again, this it's not like fucking like one of my absolute favorites on the album or anything like that, but this song still is such an incredible piece of the puzzle and is endlessly charming. I'm next to Mardy Bum. Another one of the softer songs on the album.
Well, now that Mardy Bum, I've seen your frown and it's like looking down the barrel of a gun and it goes off hundreds. Laughs and jokes around. Remember cuddles in the kitchen, yeah. Up and away. Oh, but it's really hard to remember that on a day like today.
Another surprisingly mature moment here about getting into an argument with somebody.
Pulling that silent disappointment face, the one that I can't bear, well, can't we? And yeah, I'm sorry I was late, but I missed the train and then the traffic.
Even has a great build here, even being one of the softer songs. Injecting a bit of heaviness here adds a nice bit of dynamic variety to the track. Also, one of the most simplistic but effective guitar solos on the whole album as well.
Argumentative, and you've got the face on.
Yeah, Mardy Bum one of the sweetest moments on this whole album, even with it being about an argument, even with it being kind of a song that is him getting frustrated, it still feels like a moment of maturity and a moment of maturing, kind of learning your limits, learning, I guess, where your patience ends, and kind of feeling this need to have to talk to this person about this. Even in, you know, the instrumental, kind of having that intense build-up, it still feels much more delicate than the rest of the album. Sonically, and it feels a lot more like we've reached a point of, I guess, kind of getting tired of all of the shit that was going on in the first half, which, of course, that doesn't last going into the next song, but songs like Riot Van and Mardy Bum that kind of add a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of levity to the story, a little bit more like a weight's been lifted off the shoulders, and we kind of get a moment of just personal reflection. I feel like they're very needed pieces of the puzzle to make this album as great as it is. Like, the album would still be great without them, but I think the thing that makes this album perfect to me is the fact that we get these little bits and pieces of seriousness and these little moments of self-reflection. I feel like this album wouldn't be the same thing without them. Perhaps Vampires is a bit strong, but up next.
I've seen your eyes, I'm so fixed on me. What is he doing? 'Cause you are the big rocket launcher.
Oh, this intro's got so much drive.
And I never will. 'Cause all you people are vampires. I know your stories are stale. I know you're certain will fail. Well, I've seen your eyes, I stay fixed.
God, that massive push and then that big drop. So fucking good.
You'd have been better to stay round our way, thinking about things, but not actually doing the things. 'Cause all you people are vampires. I know your stories are stale. I know you're certain will fail.
It's kind of crazy. Is this the longest song on the album? No, so it's the second longest song on the album. The longest song we've had up to this point. We're at the halfway point, and it feels like we've already gotten a full song's worth of material. Then it goes into this absolutely fucking insane instrumental back half. It just kind of feels like the entire band getting to flex, you know? Again, they use that trick a lot on this song, the dropping out and the pushing in. It feels like this song is the one that kind of warrants it the most. This one's a very powerful song about, you know, kind of a very biting song as well, about kind of sticking it to people who were doubting. I think this is just about the band in general, talking about people who were, you know, pretending to wish the best for them, but, you know, kind of thinking that they're going to fail. And then this is them essentially giving the biggest middle finger imaginable to those people. Jesus Christ. My ability to speak has gone out the window today. Yeah, I agree with this, that it's one of the most fleshed out songs on the entire album, where you get essentially an entire song's worth of material, comparatively with the rest of the album speaking, in the first half, before it goes into this crazy instrumental second half. Very fun drum solo that I feel like finds a lot of power in its simplicity. Matt Helders isn't like going fucking insane or anything like that, but I feel like the simplicity of the drum solo adds a lot of charm to this, especially with how loud the guitar effects are on top of it, and the cool little bits of percussion like the bongos being thrown into the background and shit like that. I kind of like the I don't want to say overuse, but the heavy use of the dropping out and pushing back in thing that they do on this track. It feels like it adds a lot of stopping and starting, and it's kind of like a jarring change to go through with how many times they do it on this song. But I feel like with its runtime, that kind of adds a lot of power when each of these different sections come in. This is one of the best songs on the album, in my opinion. Probably, I don't know if it's my absolute favorite, but it's definitely up there. One of the strongest, easily. When the Sun Goes Down, up next.
So who's that girl there?
Hang on a sec. I've got Discord on the wrong screen. I thought I did. I had to check.
And I've seen him with girls of the night, and he'd told Roxanne to put on her red light.
Funny they throw in a police reference in there, especially with the lyrical content of this song.
I said he's a scumbag, don't you know?
One of the craziest switch-ups on like any song I've heard, by the way. So unexpected.
Although you're trying not to listen, but your eyes are staring at the ground. Oh, we must be up to summer. What are the chances? Sure, it's more than likely. Start to wonder what his story might be, what his story might be. Yeah, 'cause they said it changes when the sun goes down. They said it changes when the sun goes down. Around here, around here.
Yeah, based on what I remember from that album, this kind of feels like it brings over some of that like hellish heaviness with the guitars. But the only song I can really remember is Brian Storm off of that album, and this kind of has that same style of heaviness. I don't know, I think this works better as like a late stage track.
What a scummy man. Just give him half a chance, I bet he'll rob you if he can.
Here's the thing, this album kind of feels like it is split into two halves. The first half of this album, from View from the Afternoon up to Still Take You Home, those first 6 tracks feel like they're going through the positives of kind of the crazy, getting into trouble when you're young. It's, you know, it's falling in love, it's going out, causing havoc, it's having a great time, laughing, doing stupid shit. And then the back half is more looking at the negatives. The back half, you get a Riot Van, which is, you know, a song that feels like it's about these kids ruining their lives, getting in trouble with the police. Vampires is about these people, is about realizing these people who you thought supported you are actually just, like, using you for their own gain and thinking you're going to fail. There's heartbreak, there's kind of the realization that maybe what you're doing isn't actually the smartest, and that it feels like that experience of maturing, you know? You get the immature side of the album, and then the side that feels like you're finally, like, properly, I guess, growing up. And I think that When the Sun Goes Down is kind of the most apparent moment of that, where it feels like a full perspective shift of the place that you live at night, where you used to see it as fun, you used to see it as like a prostitute on the street, and you'd think it's funny, and now you see it and you see like someone shady watching it and you think, wait, this is actually fucked, and this place really changes when the sun goes down. You know, this would not work as a first half song, I don't think. I feel like this coming towards the end, being one of the final 3, is a smart choice, and I kind of honestly, maybe this track could even work better if it was replaced with From the Ritz to the Rubble, if this came as the second to last song, but I don't know, I like that they give From the Ritz to the Rubble as kind of like a bit of space in between When the Sun Goes Down and A Certain Romance, which are easily the 2, like, biggest pills to swallow on the album, in my opinion. From the Ritz to the Rubble up next.
Last night these 2 bouncers and one of them's alright, the other one's a scary, and his way or no way, totalitarian. So step out the queue, he makes examples of you, and there's no way you can say, behind the go through to the bit where you pay, and you can swap jumpers and make another move, it's still in your brain, you've got something to prove, well secretly I think they want you all to kick off, they want arms flying everywhere, and balls as well, it's just, well it's a black and turn us all away, we'll put it down to fate.
Like, even here, a song that's a little more ridiculous, but still, it's saying he's glad he's been turned away from this bar, and admitting that he got too deep.
Last night, what we talked about, it made so much sense, but now the haze has ascended, it don't make no sense anymore.
Yeah, bass is fucking incredible. Bass is the MVP of this song, in my opinion. Yeah, From the Ritz to the Rubble is a nice, kind of break in between When the Sun Goes Down and A Certain Romance. It is the most explosive song of the second half. It is easily the heaviest song of the second half, but it's still, while having that kind of big insanity to it, it still has kind of the more mature lens that it looks at this through. It's talking about, you know, they get turned away at the bar and they're kind of glad that it happened. It talks about having a conversation while they're drunk and then kind of realizing that what they were talking about didn't make any sense and, you know, maybe the conversation wasn't the best idea. It still has, despite again being more ridiculous, it still has the mature outlook, and that's kind of like what I think the more genius aspect of this album is them still being able to keep up the tonal shift that the album goes through at the halfway point, even in its most bombastic moments in the back half. I'm glad that it kind of stayed on that kind of more sensible, mature outlook on this song. Yeah, From the Ritz to the Rubble is one of my favorites on this album, easily. It's one of the songs I come back to the most. We're at the final song already. I've been recording for an hour. It does not feel like it. This album always flies by every time I listen to it. Well, final song, A Certain Romance. Kind of has the inverse switch up as When the Sun Goes Down, where that goes from super clean to super heavy. This goes from super heavy into super clean. Also, fucking beautiful riff.
Loading might wear classic Reeboks or knackered Converse or tracky bottoms tucked in socks. The point's that there ain't no romance around there, and there's the truth that they can't see. It's a funny thing, you know. We'll tell them if you like. We'll tell them all tonight. They'll never listen.
You know, I've always read this song as being like, after the crazy night out that was the rest of this album, this is kind of, you got the beginning of the song, which is the final kind of crazy moment of the night, before then the sun's finally come up, and this is like, the rest of the song feels like him walking home and kind of reflecting on everything that's happened, and kind of coming to the conclusion that he feels like he finally needs to start growing up, you know? After the back half of the album was kind of the night kind of taking a turn for the worst, this is him walking home and thinking, maybe I shouldn't still be doing this. That's what I've always read this song as.
Can I say I've known him for a long, long time?
That was about Shavs? I guess it could be him describing his friends, actually, yeah. Yeah, talking about wearing classic Reeboks and naked Converse, tracksuit bottoms, yeah. A Certain Romance is one of my favorite album closes ever. Jesus, I can't fucking speak today. Yeah, one of my favorite album closes ever. This song is one of the most, like, beautifully poetic endings to an album ever. A song that sees him after what is the crazy night out that is the rest of this album that takes a turn for the worst, reflecting on the types of people he surrounds himself with. It sees him reflecting on his actions and realizing, yeah, I probably shouldn't do this. And it's the first moment of true maturity on the entire album. The back half, even Riot Van, has been kind of a contemplation and kind of teetering on the edge of maybe this isn't the best. And then A Certain Romance is him kind of finally being like, yeah, maybe this stupid shit I'm doing is actually bad for me, and maybe it might be finally time to grow up. And it's such a, again, surprisingly very mature way to end this album, especially considering this was written when these guys were my age, and this is around the age where people are still doing this shit and finding it funny and causing all this trouble and shit. This is one of, like, the best album closes of all time, in my opinion. I think that this has some of the most beautiful indie rock instrumentation. The riffs throughout this song are absolutely stunning. The atmosphere being as colorful and as saturated as it is in comparison to kind of the murkier sounds of the rest of the album, is such a nice change that still feels tonally fitting, considering this is meant to be like the sun coming up kind of moment. And I think that Alex Turner's writing reaches its peak on any Arctic Monkeys song I've ever heard here. I think that the writing on this track is the best that it's ever gotten on any Arctic Monkeys song I've ever heard. Probably my favorite song on the album. It's up there. It's between like this and from the Ritz to the Rubble, and I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor are like all in contention for being like my absolute favorite on the album. It's close between those three, but I'd say this probably squeeze it out slightly. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not by the Arctic Monkeys. Or sorry, just Arctic Monkeys. There's no the in their name. This album is perfect. This album's a 10 for me. I think that this is one of the best rock albums I have ever heard. It is such a beautiful, relatable piece of indie rock that captures that feeling of youthful euphoria, but also the struggle of maturing and finally growing up perfectly. It strikes that balance beautifully. Performance-wise, this album is so fun. There's so much chemistry here. The production is fucking spotless considering this is a debut album. I think that Alex Turner, both as a performer and a writer, is in top form on this album. He is able to capture what it feels like to be in your late teens in the UK, kind of just feeling like you need to go out and cause as much trouble as possible, and then feeling the deep regret of that. He's able to capture that youthful kind of questioning and that aloofness and unawareness, is that a word? Unawareness of people around my age, you know? It's a very relatable album to me. It's one that I can see a lot of myself in throughout this, even if it's describing a lot of situations that I've personally never found myself in. There's a lot that I feel like there's easy to connect to here, and one that is understandably a classic for like people my age, people a little bit older than me as well, that come from the UK. It feels very real. All of this is so tangible, and I think that's kind of the magic of this, is just how much this feels like this could be a story about anyone you know, could be a story about even yourself. It's just so universal as kind of like a coming of age experience, I suppose. Yeah, this album's a 10 for me. There's not really a single moment of this thing I don't love. There's not a single moment of this thing that I can say even slightly misses a beat for me. I think that this entire thing is just fireworks front to back, even on a slower song like Riot Van or Mardy Bum. It really just feels so kinetic. The energy is so palpable, everything just flows beautifully. And the amount of instrumental variety that is provided on this album as well is really shocking. We go from super heavy garage rock tracks to kind of post-punk revival songs to much slower, more intimate indie cuts. Yeah, this album is like instrumentally one of the most thrilling for me as well. Americans can maybe relate as well, though maybe in a different way from this. Yeah, it kind of has like universal themes of like growing up and maturing, except a lot of this feels very specific to the UK in the way that it's told. Rare Northerner W, this album is. Rare Northerner W. Burger person here can confirm. Mods ban this guy. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think of this album and how it compares to other Arctic Monkeys albums down below for you. Make sure you stay tuned. Gonna have reactions to the entire rest of their 7-album discography coming. Gonna be doing them in order, so Favorite Worst Nightmare will be coming next. Like and sub if you haven't. We are on our way to 4K. Links in the description to my Discord, my album in the air, my Twitter, and my other channels. Check those out if you haven't. And I will see you all whenever I next stream or upload. Bye bye.